Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. It's time to update all the different charts we've been following for quite some time: BTC, GOLD-BTC, Ethereum BTC, also total 3, BTC dominance and USDT.D. So this might be a little bit long, but I think it's a good time to zoom out, take a good look at the charts before hopefully everything goes crazy, because by then we won't have as much time to chart, because whatever we chart one day could be just invalidated in a few days later if everything starts running, right? So I think this is the moment to have a clear high time frame view and again check if our strategy works or not. So let's start straight with BTC. If you've been following me, you know that we've been tracking this potential cool-off for BTC. We said this was the biggest area, but so far BTC was showing strength right at 93.5 more or less, and that was the only support so far that it has retested it. So the thing is, this area was still open, but we saw this reset going sideways, which is one of the possibilities we've mentioned many times. And in my opinion, that shows strength. There are many people that always, I mean, there's good reason behind that always said to be cautious at resistance, right? The thing is, which is something I got trapped by in 2021, many people say that this kind of accumulation below resistance is bullish, but that also depends on the oscillators. RSI didn't lose strength in this kind of a vertical accumulation we've been talking about, and that is significant, right? Because if you kind of hover around a resistance level, chop around, but you keep losing strength, this means that this move is losing power while unable to break previous levels. But so far here, it wasn't that case, right? It eventually rolled over because as I said, I believe this second push was premature because it was still overheated and there wasn't much, in my opinion, fuel from this initial leg to keep pushing higher without having a rest before. In fact, having that kind of push without resting would be worrying, in my opinion, because that would mean that it could be like a scam pump, like an exit pump, like an artificial pump, right? There is no fuel left for such a big move, so I would be cautious there, right? So I prefer this. It doesn't mean we have to retest previous higher time frame levels all the time, like many people say. Pull back to 90k and then off to all-time high. But those are just made up paths or levels, right? We have to go day by day, step by step. And again, I wouldn't try to outplay a daily trend, because higher time frame is king. That's something I've been saying and I will keep saying for forever. And we have a new leg on the weekly, so this doesn't really matter much. We could have the pullback here as the path that I drew initially, but we could also have the vertical accumulation we had here in October, right? November, October. So again, all possibilities were open, but that's why we play high time frame, because if you try to exit here your positions, I know most of you are altcoins, but let's see this as a trader, right? If you exit your positions here, anticipating a move while there are no signs to leave, you could be just sidelined and forced to buy higher. And now buying higher is riskier than just holding here until you find some kind of weakness or signs to leave. The same thing will apply for your altcoins, right? If you don't follow a TA strategy, you might leave early because of PTSD, which I think that's what that will happen, right? When the new push for altcoins come, many people will leave because of fear, but at the same time they wanted to stay because they've been waiting for that so long, so they will have this back and forth kind of mentality, and they might just chop themselves, right? And that's not something we want. We want to squeeze the high time frame and get the most we can out of it, and for that we have to wait for signals, right? So far, this is the daily reset we were talking about. Slice through this first resistance. I didn't expect it that fast, but if the reset was over, as you can see, it doesn't really need to come back this low. That's why I don't like to trade daily timeframes, right? If I were expecting for this move to enter, for example, I would be sidelined now. So slice through the first resistance, which was the one that triggered, again, became resistance here and triggered this drop, right? You can see that by the time it was, this was a downtrend, of course, so this became resistance, and BTC was on the daily toying below the EMA and unable to break and hold, and eventually gave up, right? We are in an uptrend now since this divergence, so everything's good. There is plenty of room RSI wise to keep pushing, and the next big area is 102k, because it was the last resistance level before all-time high. So if we reclaim this, you can see it's been resistance for many candles here. If we reclaim this, new all-time high is going to be tested next, and considering how the weekly looks, phenomenal, by the way. Look how all the daily noise disappears the moment you open the weekly. This is the kind of candle that tricks many people. But what about this? I mentioned that perhaps here people say it's over. I think I have a post with that kind of meme. It's over because it's a rejection from the same top in March. It's over, right? It's a bearish trend. It's just a dead cat bounce, whatever you want to call it. But that wasn't the picture here, right? And I think the same happened here. It was just a little pause after the breakout. We said that it could retest, but it could also just keep running like it did in 2023. That's why we just let it play. We just got the breakout we want. Many people could say that, okay, but the stock RSI is already pushing too far without really, for example, altcoins really doing much. Yes, but the moment, for example, back in the breakout last year, stock RSI was pretty much around these levels when the breakout was still confirming, right? We were here. We still have plenty of room, right? For this is why RSI is more important than stock RSI, but stock RSI will hint you if perhaps we are entering the oversold or overbought levels. But remember, it can stay overbought and oversold for a long time, considering the strength of the trend. For example, if you enter a bear market, you could spend many weeks here on oversold while price keeps going down because the trend is now down. It doesn't mean it has to instantly reverse. In fact, here it was oversold from February, and we haven't revisited those prices until now. So if you bought the first oversold level, you would be underwater until now, right? So you first, when there's a downtrend, you first have to wait for price and oscillators to find a bottom. It was here, right? This kind of bull market support that I mentioned, together with the MAs we have been talking about and price. All that combination could make you think, okay, we're back, right? So everything looks good. 102 is the next level. Holding this breakout as resistance, as support would be good. We are still slightly above it. We need some time, but everything looks great. And I mentioned in another post that don't get distracted by a pause in the high time frame. And that is clearly seen with the GOLD-BTC chart. I mentioned last video that this could be just like a breather, like for GOLD-BTC, with a bearish retest of the EMA. We didn't even have that, just a small curl up. And look at this candle so far this week. I mean, it's still early, right? But this candle looks like a clean rejection to confirm that yes, we are in a downtrend now. We are below the MA. The acceleration part will probably come, right? As we have seen many times. And as I pointed out, these hidden divergences always mean continuation. We have the rollover, we have the plenty of time. This was the big drop and the run in Q4, and this is the bottom formation for gold. All I see with these, sometimes gold leading, sometimes BTC leading, is that this whole cycle has been, as I've said many times, and as you can see here, kind of a weekly cycle, right? It's not just going up when prices decide to do that and then reverse in kind of a blow off top. I think this shows the uncertainty and the wall of worry all over the cycle, right? So you have some worries and then, okay, perhaps we're back. No, perhaps it's economy is suffering. We don't know what's going to happen next. Okay, perhaps it's good or not. So we have to play and adapt to what the market says. And so far, it's been a whole wall of worry. And we don't know if it will continue to be like that. We heard yesterday Powell say that there are risks of inflation coming up. I don't think so, because oil has been going down, so it will reflect it in inflation later. So we have a few months of even potential deflation. So I don't think, which by the way aligns with what we are seeing here in the charts, a new outperform period for BTC, right? And that's what we have to stick to. If we just pay attention to the last tweet, the last headline we see, we can just be full of noise and then being very confused, and that normally ends up being very bad decisions. So we're getting close to the old part of the old coin part of the video, and we start with Ethereum BTC. This is the only real bottom area for the cycle that I mentioned for Ethereum, and I just pointed out because this is the area it bottoming the last cycle, right, in the bear market of the last cycle. And as you can see, there was some more confluence, not only this price level, but also the oscillators. It was the only time that the RSI flashed red. And then we built a flat divergence, bullish divergence here that signed like a potential reversal. So far, we found the same thing with the MA rolling over and getting close to these potential cross, stock RSI curling up, and look at these bounces from this level, right? Even though BTC tried to push again, look at the way these candles look. Very, very, very different from everything we have seen this cycle, right? In fact, you can see this small like rest in this downtrend, perhaps around this resistance level before we tried to hold it as support, but it couldn't. This just very small chop was the Q4 run for altcoins. Just think about that for a second. If we truly reverse, it could be really, really powerful. But at the same time, I gotta be objective. So I wanted to compare what BTC dominance was doing back here when the Ethereum BTC chart bottomed, right? And we can see the BTC dominance was starting to look toppy, right? It had another second impulse that really triggered everyone. Look at the dates. January 4th. Remember the tweets I posted about Noel season, this time is different, whatever, on January 2nd. Right before, days before the old season, because people are not using charts. People are just impatient. People just see their altcoins flat for months while BTC is getting all the attention. But if you follow these, you can see that even at the top, this potential top for BTC dominance, Ethereum BTC was already bottoming and turning around. In fact, in this top area, by the time BTC dominance decided to drop, Ethereum was already outperforming BTC. This was very telling, and this was still 2020, which was flat for many altcoins, right? It was really here when BTC dominance decided to drop that many altcoins run. In fact, that is shown by total 3 chart, right? So we can see that Ethereum was outperforming BTC. We don't know if that's going to happen this cycle again, because back then it was the flavor of the month, right? But what we really need for our altcoins is BTC dominance to drop. You can see here it was chopping around, and until it decided to drop, total 3 didn't really push, right? The difference this cycle, and I mentioned yesterday, how could you be bearish or doubtful with altcoins? At least we will have some runs, and not small ones, I believe. This whole cycle, right, from this accumulation area, which in 2020 was higher and being longer, which could have triggered the fear, or could have enough power for such a big move. On this cycle we have had, with BTC dominance going up, we have had small spurs, well, not small, but big pushes, right, and drops, but still making higher highs and higher lows, while BTC dominance keeps increasing. Just have that in mind, because alts have not done as bad as many people say. Perhaps their altcoins are doing shit because they buy microcaps thinking that they will have the biggest upside potential, and now they are realizing that more reliable altcoins have been the ones leading the altcoin market, which, by the way, makes sense, because if you don't really know what's going on or what's going to happen, there is no euphoria, there's fear and disbelief. It's normal that apparently more reliable altcoins like, I don't know, XRP with all the ETF going and stuff are the ones leading. And until we don't find ourselves in the euphoria phase, we won't see any coin pretty much running, right? In fact, small caps are normally the last ones to run. But again, we will follow charts, not just past behavior. So if we look at if we take a look at total 3 from a daily perspective, I'm gonna separate this. I mentioned that it was again, as well as BTC, it was resting, resetting the oscillators, and now we had the reset yesterday, and now we have a cross on the daily RSIMA. Same thing happened here after the bottom, and we run from 700 to 850. Not a bad run. And we are now, I said we for now are holding this March 24 top, right, as support. People were just saying that the old season is over, altcoins are in a bear market. I mean, seriously, dude, what chart are you looking at? Are you just looking at your portfolio because you chose shitty casino coins in Solana, or what are you even looking at, man? It's just, we are getting ready to attack this again. This rejection couldn't push price lowest, not even to this bottom, right? Just making higher highs, higher low, higher high, higher low, and this resistance will be attacked again. It was in March, it was in April, late April, a month later. If you don't think this looks similar like these previous price action or range here in 2024, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's been textbook, right? The top, we found a new top. Now we lose this upper range, right? Becomes resistance, but we find support pretty much in the previous top. We're ranging between making higher highs, higher lows. Perhaps these highs didn't really break initially, but the lows were being higher. It was a matter of time, and BTC allowed that. And the moment we broke this, we didn't look back, and we start the same thing. Chop around this range, try to hold it, we lose it, becomes resistance. We found support in the previous kind of resistance level, right? And now we're attacking this resistance again. So what's bad, what's bearish about this chart? Only impatience. Again, I said yesterday, data is not supporting a bearish perspective for altcoins. And if we clean everything and we take a look at the weekly total 3 chart, This is the bottom, the accumulation area. How can anyone say that this looks bearish? What are we talking about? This was the top in 2021. Rejection, perfect. I'm gonna change this. Perfect rejection area, right? The same level. I mean, it was obvious. If we don't have a full all season, it was obvious to be rejected here after such a big move, right? In fact, if we had this kind of move, it only happened again here in January because BTC dominance decided to drop hard, right? And until then, we might just chop. But in 2020, remember what altcoins were doing, right? Here we have a high, 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 low, but here lower, high, lower, low. Perhaps people were just worried that we were even wicked down to the bear market bottom. We haven't even come close to that. It's a clear uptrend. What are people worried about? I open the weekly, nothing else, and all I see is after reclaiming this, which by the way is holding now, this is the March top, as we said. We might find some resistance here, but all I see in a higher time frame, again, it's just this is a magnet. I don't see any other scenario now, unless we print a, again, this got rejected hard and everything rolls over. But the moment we make a higher high here, I think this is an all-time high. It's just a matter of time. I don't see what's wrong about this. If we believe in a true season, and all we've had so far is just a high low structure, very bullish structure, and we believe the real fun hasn't really started, why are we worried here? Is it because we really don't know if it's going to happen? Of course we don't know, but with this structure I can't be bearish. With Ethereum, BTC bottoming like it is, I can't be bearish. And it's bottoming right on time. With BTC dominance chopping, we don't know how long it will take. As I said, September 19, it didn't really top until December, but this structure was different. We need, what if BTC keeps running? It takes its time and it keeps running until, let's say, 150, 175 or something like that, which was the Fibonacci 1.6. Yes, people will get frustrated. Perhaps we have some more chop. But eventually, if there's a rotation, the amount of money that could pour into altcoins would be insane. Remember that the higher we go, the better for our altcoins. If BTC had stopped at 20k and then the old season started, we wouldn't have seen such a big move. We wouldn't have seen this if BTC topped like at 25k, 30k. Seriously, let it run. If people get frustrated because all they see is this flat price action for months, then they are just gambling and they don't know what they're doing. They want to get rich quickly. They deep down they know it's impossible or very hard to do that, but at the same time that's what they want. So there is a clear dissonance there. So if we open the BTC dominance chart, this keeps pushing relentlessly. But again, this is not a chart I would buy. If this was an altcoin, would you really buy this? Yes, it's been an uptrend, man. It keeps going. It's really, really strong. Yes, but on the weekly, the moment to buy was perhaps here, right? I wouldn't buy this RSI. I wouldn't buy this stock RSI. If I go to the monthly, I really, really wouldn't buy this because it's getting close to stock RSI wise, at least, to the place where it dropped. And we don't know if it would come back up. The levels it's reaching without pretty much going non-stop. If we take a look, this is kind of a blow up top for BTC dominance. This whole cycle has been like a non-stop going up, pretty much like here. It was more vertical with just some chop around here. But it's going insane. It's the RSI is as high as it's ever been. And if we go to the daily, we have an engulfing candle for now. We don't know how far it could drop. Perhaps it could retest this Fibonacci level would be just a 1% would be really good for altcoins. It's threatening to lose the MA again, and we haven't surpassed once again these RSI level that I mentioned so many times. That it's being rejected this cycle. Well, slightly surpassed, yes, but rollover, right, for now. So stock RSI here is also trying to go back. Flat divergence is still going. Yes, I've been talking about this divergence since here. I'm not gonna pretend that I nailed it. I said also that I didn't really care. I mean, if it's going up because BTC is going up, it's all good. It also means new money is coming in. It doesn't mean, as I said yesterday, that it is extracting value from altcoins. The thing is, there's flat divergence. Stock RSI is also looking a little bit exhausted. I don't know for how long, but I like the way it looks. I really, really do. So many altcoins are, again, yeah, I'm gonna use Ondo for a second. I said I would come back here after the reset, and it's about to cross the daily, pretty much crossing now. Stock RSI going up, Fibonacci pretty much holding, just wicking below, higher, low structure. Do you want to get bearish just because it doesn't move, just because it hits here and it goes back? You need to understand the structure and everything's looking good. This is one of the many altcoins. It just let's say here this rejection proved it wasn't time for altcoins yet. Will this time be the time for outperformance? I guess BTC dominance will tell, right? Like it did here. Wasn't really ready yet. It was even worse. It was several weeks of chop here in summer, and then boom. I think everything looks good, and in hindsight, it will look so obvious. And if we fuck up, it will be because we've been impatient. Because charts-wise, we are not being stubborn. We are not trying to see what it isn't on the charts. It's everything here, and everything looks good. And lastly, let's take a look at USDT dominance. It has a little chop around here, which I said, why not? Could just chop. I initially said here around 450, and I maintain that idea, considering it's being a crowded, traded area. It could just chop here, but this was my main target, first target. And yes, this little chop here wasn't, well, not a big area. Just chop for a few days, and then this initial push was a faker because yes, the trend is down. This is a new downtrend, and it shows. So we are going back down. And in fact, if we go to the higher time frame, there was nothing to worry about. We had the break below. Some people might say, yes, but the stock RSI has rolled over a lot. And altcoins or even BTC hasn't done much. Well, let's take a look at the last breakout, which is very, very similar to structure. We had this initial bearish retest, which we could argue was this one, with just a small candle, not even a full retest. And by then, stock RSI was pretty much at the current levels, right? When it was just trying to do this retest and confirm it's below, the downtrend is confirmed. But this candle we are seeing now is engulfing completely. It's continuation. And this big drop for RSI was with stock RSI with just this small, or this second leg, right, so to speak. This was the huge drop. Right, this shows momentum. It doesn't mean it has to end right getting here, right? And it doesn't mean if it hasn't dropped much this first half, it won't drop much the second one. That doesn't work like that. We need RSI to just go back. This will be the main indicator, and this will be the confluence. So far, so good. This is my main target for now. 373, which was the top area for Q4. How high will everything be? I don't know. We might reach these levels with BTC topping, but BTC dominance rolling over. So even though USDT doesn't really go down that much, we might see a rotation from BTC to altcoins because BTC dominance decided to. So again, we have to be open-minded and see what might come next, but in a higher time frame. If we break this 373 level, the door opens for 250 based on previous examples. And I think this was the second top in 2021, and this was the real crazy top. I don't know if we will get here, to be honest. For now, my biggest target is 373, and I don't know how the markets will look by then. If it will be dominated by altcoins or by BTC still, I'm not sure. But these are the two real targets. We just had the breakout. I'm just going to let it play. Let it play. If this is a real fake out and BTC doesn't break, let's say 102K, this could just be a fake out, roll back up, make a high, a low, break above this, and perhaps the cycle is over. But for now, this is just pure speculation with no data behind it. All we have to do now is just let everything run. Everything looks good. So, as we have been saying for quite some time, the time of the reversal was, let me open the daily. This was the time for the reversal, and such reversals like this are not just to die in resistance, unless we are in a downtrend and we just have a dead cat bounce, right? But these, so far, this whole cycle has been in an uptrend. I don't know what people are smoking to say it's over. I guess their backs are down, so that makes them think it's over. I guess if you are up a lot from the bottoms, you're super happy and think the cycle is really, really strong and healthy. So if it all depends on your backs, perhaps you're not analyzing it technically, right? So everything's good. I think we just need time. That's all. We've left the worst behind, and we just have to enjoy, even though it might require patience. But that's all we need now, right? I think the worst is behind, and just have to enjoy what's next. Okay, I will update the next time I find something relevant, and until then, take care. See ya.